field the next question with the first response. And this question deals, I think, probably with something that's right in your wheelhouse, because it is a question about the new budget categories, which I have a hunch you've probably spent a lot of time studying. So can you please explain how the budget categories will positively and maybe negatively affect the schools?
January 2019, the state is changing basically the accounting of schools. We've always had state associated dollars, which is your enrollment times the amount of money that's tuition, and that has been the general fund. And now that'll be called the education fund. We have our local tax dollars have always been into kind of four groups. We have our capital projects fund, our bus replacement, and our transportation. And then you also have your debt service. The debt service is still going to stay the same, but we're going to have an operations fund that will combine our transportation, bus replacement, and our capital projects. We've always had 3 rates on those local taxes, and there was kind of some restrictions on what you could spend those monies on, transportation for transportation related items. But the general fund really didn't have a lot of restrictions, and there was money that moved back and forth. With the change, the state is really going to create a little more restrictions with the education fund, but open it up a little better for our local funds, because if one year we want to have, there's only going to be one rate on that operations fund, but it's all going to be the same amount of dollars. So the operations fund, let's say one year we want to buy 2 buses, and we don't have a lot of capital projects, we're flexible to be able to do that. If we have another year we want to do a capital project and we don't need to buy 2 buses, then we have a little more money for capital projects. So it's really going to give the business managers some more flexibility to do capital projects primarily and keep our taxes pretty flat on our property.
So the positive impact, I think, will be, like Mike said, give you more flexibility to use the money as you need, a little more in your control, I think. But I think negatively, I think the thing that you have to look out for is look at the long term. A short-term decision might be might be a quick answer to something, but you need to look long term what the impact of that is. Again, and I said before that what in my industry, the student loan industry, it's similar. From the standpoint that to get a student loan is actually a very easy process. They make it very easy for you, but you've got to think long term. Okay, if I'm going to be taking that money out now, what I'm paying for the next 30 years or whatever. It's that same concept that we all do. We all should be taking into account, personally too. So I think that's the balance you have to take, is just make sure that you are looking long term at every decision that's being made, and that it's the right one.
Yeah, also, I believe it was from those two, it was explained very well. It is something that will take a little bit of time to get used to on the new types of funds from there. But I believe it's like, it is to keep, it will keep, try to help keep property taxes down. I mean, nobody likes paying those. Is whether you have 1 acre or 10,000. It's something on that, but still, it's just going to take. It will take time, maybe for some systems to get used to on that. Maybe not necessarily this school system, but it's still something I feel like, no matter how much I read into it, I feel like I still learn something every time I do try to go over that, and I learn something new every time I read into this, and the education fund is one thing on there, concerned about, or also with the general fund on those right there on switching over, but it is, I do believe, like I said, for how you two explained that very well, a little bit better than I did, but I do agree with what they said on that, so.